Blessed love, my Lord and Empress, royal family, internationally. Give thanks for life, health, and strength. This is the African Liberation Network. I'm the host, Honorable Prophet Daniel, and this is the Bobo Ashanti International Study Group. Today's topic is the recession and how it impacts us African people, us as Rastafari, us as Black people. And we'll, go into the topic very thoroughly, and hopefully it will be able to help us to prepare and survive the oncoming economic recession that Babylon is predicting. At this time, I'll turn it over to the Honorable Priest Dougie, to say a prayer for us to open the program. My Lord.
My Lord, blessed love everyone at the celebration. Yes, Most High, Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, yes, oh Father, send thy healing balm amongst I and I. Quicken thy spirit, strengthen thy hearts, keep thy steadfast towards thy will. Have mercy upon our souls, and let thy face shine upon us, that thine and I shall be saved and redeemed. O thou Most High, Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie,
Rastafari,
O Most High, Jah,
Rastafari. Give thanks, my Lord. Yes, and I would call on the Honorable Empress Miriam, Mama Maisie, to do us the great pleasure of singing us a wonderful song, to set the tempo and the pace for the reasoning. Honorable.
Oh, blessed love, royal family. Thanks again, man, for the first day of the week. Give thanks for all good things. Art of celebration, Yeah, we are celebrating our mother and father coronation. Most High, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Blessed love one and all. So I'll sing this chorus to my study group family and the YouTube family. Jah shall wipe away all tears from our eyes. Jah shall wipe away all tears from our eyes. For when we reach Mount Zion, our sorrows will be over. For I say, Jah shall wipe away all tears. Doni, I say, Jah shall wipe away all tears from our eyes. Jah shall wipe away all tears from our eyes. For when we reach Mount Zion, our sorrow will be over. For I said, Jah shall wipe away all tears. One more time, family. Jah shall wipe away all tears from our eyes. Jah shall wipe away all tears from our eyes. For when we reach Mount Zion, our sorrow will be over. For I said, Jah shall wipe away all tears in a holy Mount Zion. Zion, Zion, Lord, holy Mount Zion, Jovia, Jah. Rastafari, heart of celebration, one and all, most high, Selassie, Jah. Rastafari, my Lord and Empress.
Honorable. Yes, I give thanks, Honorable Empress Maisie. Yeah, give thanks, Honorable Priest Dougie. My elders opening the program for us, giving us the floor to speak. Yeah, at this time, we'll move right into the topic. As I said before, the topic is recession. We'll define it and we'll address it from a lot of different standpoints, perspectives, because, life is a holistic thing, and these recessions and these economic things that happen to us affect us in more than just ways, not just our bank account, and we need to be able to understand it, prepare for it if possible. And once it happens, we need to be able to, maneuver through it so that we can survive and even thrive, because we should be able to stand regardless of what Babylon world does, So at this time, I'll call on Honorable Empress Cindy, because Empress Cindy is the one who suggested this topic. This was her idea. And, it's a very good topic, and very relevant, timely. So Honorable Empress Cindy, if you would please do us the honor and, do us a favor and define what is a recession, for those who are watching who may not really know, they heard the term, but not really fully sure what is it. And yes, I will give you the floor now.
Give thanks, Honorable.
Yes, I.
So what is a recession? In economics, a recession is a business cycle contraction when there is a general decline in economic activity. Recessions generally occur when there is a widespread drop in spending, an adverse demand shock. This may be triggered by various events such as financial crisis, an external trade shock, an adverse supply shock, the bursting of an economic bubble, or large-scale anthropogenetic or natural disasters such as a pandemic. And just for ones who don't know what an anthropogenetic meaning is, the definition of that is environmental pollution and pollutants originating in human activity.
Okay.
Also, in the United States, a recession is defined as a significant decline in economic activity across the market, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP. GDP stands for gross domestic product, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. Also, the European Union has adopted a similar definition. A recession is defined as a negative economic growth for 2 consecutive quarters. A recession can also be defined as when there's an economic decline in a country, especially when it pertains to trade and industrial activity, because every country's economy intermixes with others. There are several reasons why there would be effects of a global recession in the US. There's also a stark difference between a recession and depression. But I also wanted to state that governments usually respond to recessions by adopting expansionary macroeconomic policies, such as increasing money supply or increasing government spending and decreasing taxation. A recession and a depression describes periods during which the economy shrinks, but they differ in severity, duration, and scale. A recession is a decline in economic activity spread across the economy that lasts more than a few months. A depression is a more extreme economic downturn, and there has only been one, and that is the Great Depression that happened in 1929 and 1939. Give thanks, my Lord. And
give thanks. Yes, Honorable, give thanks for that great definition. that sets the, you know, the foundation for the rest of the reasoning, you know, so ones and ones can follow, because it wouldn't do us much good if we talk about a recession and go in all of this detail, but people don't even know what a recession is, you know. We hear the term a lot in the news, but it's good to really be fully clear. And, you know, I think that was a great definition. It really touched all aspects of it. Basically, and Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just gonna try to make it really simple, is when a country has their gross domestic product and their export, or the amount of money they make basically is less than what they pardon, the amount that they make is less than what
Put
they
down.
spend. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're actually making more money, producing more money, and which in turn is it's not a good thing, because the United States, as some people may be aware of, is broke. So how can you keep on making money if you don't have any money to make? You know, they keep on borrowing and borrowing and borrowing from whoever, whatever country, China or wherever they borrow money from, and it increases the debt. And so, yeah, it's exactly what you said, my lord.
Okay. Yes, I give thanks. All right. So yeah, at this time, I'll turn it over, Honorable Priest Dougie. We're you know, defining recession. We're trying to understand what it is, what it looks like for us. You know, we are government as Bobo Ashanti, and we are people. You know, amongst other people, even though we, you know, try to separate ourselves from the society, and, you know, not to say separate from the society, but, you know, we have our own, you know, government and our own economy. What does this mean to us as Black people, as African people, as Rastafari, as Bobo Shanti? You know, as much, you know, as you want to go into it, for the clarity for the viewers. You have to unmute, please.
Yes, my lord. Yeah, man. As the I say, we don't live in our bubble. So what affects one, the ripple affects others. And then recession is a global factor, economic factor. Now, as Bobo Ashanti, a government within a government, you know, being that we are the poor people's government, we kind of know how, you know, life is, you know, on the rough end of it. So we are used to, you know, navigating through, you know, lack of funding or slow, you know, slow amount of funds coming in, you know, so we are used to banning our belly there, you know, reducing our spending in those times, you know, budgeting, you know, our expenditure, you know, dealing with more of the necessities, and you know, limiting the frills then, you know, that we would normally, you know, endear ourselves with, you know, little comforts. But it affects I and I as a government in the area of commerce, you know, even selling our products, brooms, mats, whatever we produce. In a recession, people don't spend as much. So your products are not moving as fast. So you have to now try and find other ways of generating funds, you know, supplement your income with other means. You know, you have to get diverse in your approach. You see, that's why as a government, you can't depend on one product, you know, for your revenue. You have to have, you know, several different areas in which you generate your revenue. So when something like a recession, you know, occurs, not every area is gonna be affected in the same way, especially if you are providing like essential services, you know, because no matter what, if you are a farmer, people have to eat, recession or not, people will have to eat. food is a necessity. So in that sense, you are able to keep yourself afloat. You know, you might have to, you might find that the cost of food go up, you know, because now you're not even generating as much because you're not looking to invest as much as you would normally do during a time of recession. You know, so as a government, it affects our revenue. It affects every aspect of how we function, health-wise, because if you're not able to spend the way you normally spend, you know, and being at the bottom of the food chain already, we are living off of the bare necessities. And if those bare necessities get any barer, then it can become health threatening. So a recession can also affect your health. You know, it's a ripple effect. It affects how you can provide for your children. You might have to cut back on their after school activities. You might have to, you know, you have to scale down during the time of a recession, whether you're a company or an individual. It's about managing your resources, you know, in a critical time like that. You have to manage it properly to make sure that you don't find yourself in that desperate need. Yes, sir.
Give thanks, my Lord. Yes, and yeah, that gives us a little bit more context as to, you know, how it affects us overall as a group of people. And it also shines a little light on, you know, the reality, like Empress Cindy had explained, that, you know, and if a recession in one country not only affects that country that's having the recession, it also affects other countries, you know, being like we would be considered like a country, you know, Bobo Ashanti being that we're a government, even though we don't have necessarily a land, so to speak. You know, it is, even though we're not really necessarily fully into their world, that what happens in their world definitely does affect us. The more we depend on them, the more it affects us. The more self-reliant we are, the less it affects us, and the more we can just continue as usual, as normal. But being that, you know, we have work to do, these type of things really have an effect on us. So it's good to be aware. Honorable Empress Maisie, do you mind telling us what brings on a recession? What's bringing on the recession that we're experiencing now, like current events in the world?
My Lord.
Yes,
A recession. What bring on a recession? In our one country where the economy, you know, is low, very low. That's what bring on recession, right? So for instance, the spending. Well, you know, we used to spend, and if the economy not getting what it used to, like spending, you know, buying things to strengthen the economy, you're going to have recession because the economy not producing what it used to produce. Take, for instance, price increases, get very high. People used to spend on lots of goods, cut down, right? They can't buy no more because they don't have that amount of money to buy, you know, to strengthen back. So the economy is losing what, you know, always strengthening how we buy, you know, where we travel. People used to travel, go places, them stop traveling because the money is not there for them to travel. So all of that, and so the economy is cutting down from all of that, you know, strengthening money. Say, for instance, grocery. Take, for instance, grocery. You know, you went to the supermarket, you used to spend $500. No, because of what is happening in the economy and things is breaking down, you can't spend that $500 anymore. You have to be looking now to spend like $300 on grocery. So that $200 is the economy losing that, right? To strengthen it. So if your economy is, you know, not strengthening by how we buy our travel, then you're going to have recession. You understand? The percentage is, you know, it's not going to be there to strengthen the recession, the economy. So we're going to have recession. But how are we going to manage to get over that now? You understand? Lots of things, you know, that we used to do, we have to cut it down. We have to scale it down, you know. And recession in our one country comes from other countries too. You understand? Like, take for instance, war in Ukraine, war in Russia. We get certain things from Russia. We get certain grains from Ukraine. And because of the war, you know, the goods are not coming out. And so the countries then going in that, you know, they are not getting that proceed money what they used to get to other countries to buy, you know. So it caused the economy to break down. You understand, my lord? So, you know, it's just the money that was supposed to be flowing in the country to strengthen back your economy. And it is not there because of recession, right? In one country, my lord. But there are a lot of things that we can do to straighten back ourselves, as our father taught us, you know, that we must have something in our own little corner. You understand? He said we must have, you know, our store basket must always have something in there, that in case any emergency, we could also turn, you know, to help ourselves. There are a lot of things that I and I can do to help ourselves, you know, to strengthen back our, you know, the economy in oneself. Because every country have a problem with recession and economy. Even take, for instance, in Jamaica, right now, we having a economic problem here in Jamaica, my lad. You know, see, when you look on the poverty line, you see how people live. You know, take, for instance, the pay that, you know, the majority of people get in Jamaica, $7,200. And when you look on the cost of living, you know, they're spending everything, a family of 5, children to go to school, food, you know, other bills, my lord. And what can you do with 7,200? That is a recession. You see?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, my lords, a lot of things, but we have to build ourselves to get out of it. We have to be like the 5 wise virgin, you know, and not be like the 5 foolish virgin who didn't have any light, any light, island their lamp.
Yes, Mama.
My lord, I cannot disturb. Go
Yes,
ahead.
that was a good reasoning still. I don't want to, you know, we still have a lot more to touch on, but we'll do it piece by piece and make sure we're clear on everything. And Empress Maisie just made a great point. You know, every individual is a government, every family is a government, you know, and say if a person spends more than they make, they're in a recession, you know, themselves. If a family is the same way, just like a country, and many families, you know, especially Black families, African families, are constantly in a recession. And so their economic recession just makes it worse and harder on us. Yeah, so that's a great point and a great reasoning. You know, she brought it, you know, showed us the international happenings currently, you know, the different countries that are causing, you know, these economic downturns internationally. So give thanks, Mama Maisie, for that information. And at this time, we'll focus on the effects of a recession. You know, we've defined it now, so we got to look at how does a recession affect. Okay, pardon me. Before we go on to that next segment, I would like to leave it open for ones and ones if anything they felt was left out or that needed to be added to before we close up that section. And Empress Cindy had her hand raised. Empress Cindy, something you wanted to add, Honorable? You have
No,
time?
you said we were going to move on to the next. So I was just going to talk about inflation and the rate of inflation increasing.
Okay, true.
Yeah.
Well, give thanks. Yes, I will definitely ask you to bring forward that information very soon. Anyone else?
My lord.
Yes, I.
Yeah, let's identify what is causing this present recession. Coming out of the pandemic, during the pandemic, everything shut down. So the factories stopped producing, the ships stopped sailing, carrying goods back and forth. You know, a lot of people were out of jobs. You know, so the overall GDP got a blow for 2 years. So coming out of that 2 year shutdown, we are finding now the crunch, you know, no matter how they gave stimulus money in different countries to kind of shore up the economy, the long-term effect is now chipping in, where things is not even back to normal. And Mama Maisie identified it properly, where the war, and it was strategic. We can also identify that because Putin chose to wage the war just at the end of the pandemic, which increased the pressure on the world that was already locked down for 2 years. See? And as Mama Maisie said again, Ukraine provides a lot of grains around the world because of the lack of grain right now. And in this recession, there are countries in Africa and Asia and other places that are on the brink of starvation. So those dynamics have created this present recession that we are facing. So there are less jobs during a recession. Funds is not as liquid, you know, and in this case, goods are not coming as fast. When the shelves are empty of certain products, you see it's slow to be restocked because goods are not back to the level of production as it was before the pandemic. Give thanks.
Yes, my Lord. Give thanks for filling in that information. And does anyone else have anything to add as far as defining the recession? You know, what it is, how it's coming about, before we move on to the effects of the recession. All right. So we'll start on the bigger scale and we'll, work our way down. So international effects. Empress Cindy, sounded like you wanted to give us some information about, the inflation and things like that. So this would be a good time for that.
Give thanks, my Lord. So, according to an article written in the Amsterdam News, it states that for the 12 months ending in January, so that would have been January of this year, inflation amounted to 7.5%, the fastest year-over-year pace since 1982, according to the Labor Department. And then it also states that consumers felt the price squeeze in everyday routines. So over the past year, prices arose 41% for used cars and trucks, 40% for gasoline, 14% for bedroom furniture, and 11% for clothes. And so they say that when we're experiencing, a recession, that the demand for items, for everyday items, increases and the production decreases. But why is that the case? We overcame a pandemic, but this is not the first time that globally something major has affected us in a way that we can't bounce back. So it's just a question we could probably further talk about later on down in the reasoning, but it's just that why would the demand for certain items, knowing that this We just came out of a pandemic, and now we're feeling the crunch, just like Priest Dougie stated earlier, that we are in the need of a lot of things, and the production of it is not being made. Why is that?
It's good. That's a good question. And I'll turn it over to Honorable Priest Dougie to continue, and really, being that this is the Bobo study group and we are African people first, in our meditation. Bobo Ashanti is Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. How is this affecting Ethiopian African Black people internationally, my lord? And even if you want to speak to what Empress Cindy put on the table as well.
Yes, let's continue with Empress Cindy's meditation. Why is the production less when the demand is more right now? Again, it's that unstable market, because remember, companies are in this thing here for profits, not for loss. So when a market becomes unstable, investors withhold their funds. They wait to see certain signs, because there are those that they call speculators. They have these things they call projection. They are projecting the market will be this in 6 months, the market will be that in a year, and all of that. So those speculations, is what the investor watches to see how he invests his money. So right now, most companies prefer to sell off what they are making right now, unlike before the pandemic, when they would have warehouses stocked with goods just waiting for the demand to send it out. They prefer to sell off their goods right now and barely just stock a certain amount and keep the cash in hand. That is a common action during a recession. And that now affects the production of goods, and then we still need the goods. Just like we said about certain essential items, no matter what is going on, people will find ways to achieve the essentials that they need. So without those being available, we see what is going on right now. Now, how does it affect I and I as Africans globally? Now, during a recession, the movement of people is restricted. One, Mama Maisie said in her way, traveling, because that excess money is not there for the little quick run to Jamaica from Miami or from New York. You hold on that little money to make sure, you can weather the storm. So the travel is restricted. Now, when that travel is restricted, it trickles down. Now, a place like Jamaica is a tourist industry country. Jamaica survives, and most Caribbean islands, survive on a big part of their GDP comes from tourism. So when people not coming on vacation the way they normally do, the hotels are not filled to capacity. Seasonal occupation drops. So people get less jobs. Them have to cut you back to part-time, cut back part-time to just lesser part-time, and so forth. So it trickles down and it affects everyone within the society, especially those at the bottom, because now you are surviving already, hand to mouth, from paycheck to paycheck. Not even. You're doing without sometime until you get that paycheck. And sometimes you're paying one bill and leaving one bill until you have to be juggling the bills to pay them, because you can't pay the two of them when they're due at the same time, because then you would be out of food or travel money to go to work, whatever. So it affects us, especially, like I said, I and I at the bottom of the food chain. And when we say that, that is just a reality. you know, being Bobo Ashanti, our main resource originally came from brooms, mats, stuff like that. Those are not essentials, even though they are, but they are not the critical essential. So wherein a person would have a broom that's almost gone and buy another one, then work that one until it's gone before them buy the other one during a recession. So our broom sales slow down. So being able to stock our storehouse also gets affected. You know, globally, you look at countries in Africa like, Niger, one of the poorest countries in Africa, the Congo, places like that, that's already struggling, where Somalia, where every year they face a food crisis. And who suffers the most within those countries? The babies, the children, those that you see them show on TV with the big stomach and all of that. So it affects our people directly, because even the aid that stronger countries give, that gets cut back during a recession. So they're not sending what they normally send to those people that desperately need it in Africa and Asia and those places. So internationally, it affects us all. Now, how do we react to something like that? And there's one example that I would like to share. I was observing Niger some years ago. Niger has this constant drought and constant famine. And the government there, all over these decades, have not come up with a strategy to offset that. Right away, that shows me that their leadership is flawed right there, because you know that, like a recession occurs every so often. You know that drought affects your country often. You have to do some preparation. Now, with this recession that's going on, or any recession, a place like Niger is affected terribly. Because, like I said, aid doesn't come as it used to. Their production is low as it is. And if by chance this is one of the year where the drought hits them and their food production is affected, then they are in a critical problem. So these are the ripple effects of a recession.
Yes,
it
thanks, man.
affects the food of most of all. If people can produce at least food for yourself, because land is everywhere, and different types of food growing in different regions. Something can grow in whatever region, even in the desert, cactus grow. If people can just go back to that way of living, where your backyard garden is a must. You live in places like Africa, say planting has to be a central focus in dealing with a recession, because as long as you can feed your nation, your society, you can weather the storm. You can do without a new pants where you normally would get every 3 months. You can do without one. You can do without certain things. But food, and medicine, those two things are essential for I&I people during a recession. Yes, sir.
Give thanks, Honorable Priest. Yes, sir. And we'll continue. We'll ask Honorable Priest Joseph to come and share about how a recession affects migration. Yes, I'll just leave it there. Honorable Priest Joseph.
Bless the Lord, my lad. Give thanks for life again, my lad. Yes, Honorable. Well, people who live, in countries where all of this has been happening for a long time, the country currency going low, every day, lower and lower, and things getting more expensive because you see most of these, countries here in South America at least depend mostly, almost 100% on shipping ins for produce, because it is like the countries, sold themselves, to the so-called, bigger economies, with treats and all these things, to all national product is shipped out, and what the people, lives from is things that are shipped in from other countries and are bought, in foreign currencies. So like for us, like here in Colombia, almost the whole produce, what people buys, like for, household goods, it's all shipped in and the country has to buy it in dollars, So when the dollar becomes more expensive, everything that, we ship in to live daily is more expensive. So the reality of the people, becomes, rougher every time, to the point where people has to, with people is sold, people buys the idea that, yeah, we go into an next country can, solve their issues. And since the foreign currency is more expensive, they think like, all right, I can go to a next country and work to send some money to my family, and it is going to be a lot because the currency, is apparently stronger. But the reality is not so. It's more like a slavery thing, that people is sold in. So right now that has been going on, internally in South America from a long time ago. From Venezuela, there was a huge migration to all countries in South America. And right now the migration is more to the US. Well, it has always been, but during some time, it kind of, you didn't see it. It was not that common. But right now, it's thousands of people going from, Colombia, passing through Panama to go Mexico and arrive to the US. Even if there is even people that travels from Africa and to Chile, because in Chile they have politics where people, they have migration politics for people to come in. So people comes in from different countries, from Haiti, from Chile, from Africa, from all over the world. Start in South America, Chile, they go all the way up, through Ecuador, Colombia. And the idea is to, it's like the American dream, which is the American nightmare, really. Because when they get there, the economy is mashed up. Still, it's the same thing. They have to, find 2-3 different jobs to feed their people,
Mhm.
So that is the reality. What I see that's going on, like with the whole recession thing. It sells people the idea that they can, send money, but yeah. And right now, as I said, it is something that has been really going on from a long time. For countries that depend, mostly on what they ship in, like here in Colombia, it's a country where everything is produced. Coffee, everybody knows Colombia because of coffee, but Colombian people doesn't drink Colombian coffee. They drink coffee from Peru, Peruvian coffee, and the Colombian coffee is shipped over to other countries. So what was being said, you know, the big investors, you see. So what really affects everything that's going on is the politics, you know, because these foolish people who is in, you know, in power, everything they say affects, you see, the image that they have of the country to investors. So investors would just decide to, you know, cut off the flow of money in different industries. And that ends up causing, you know, the industries to, you know, stop producing. So it is like a vicious circle, you know, because industries stop producing here, and that affects, you see, other countries that end up having recession, and recession ends up affecting other industries that also depend on other countries that depend on the so-called bigger currencies. But yeah, my lord, that is why I say, you know, on regards of migration, and it is more the idea, you know, that they sell on people. But it is just modern slavery, because right now, here in South America, you see propaganda everywhere about, you know, migrating to the US or to Europe. And right now, politics in here had made it to, you know, make it more possible for people. Right now, people doesn't need visa. Just a few weeks ago, they put up a mandate where people doesn't need visa to go to the United Kingdom. And you see all kinds of people from all classes, doctors, lawyers, architects, migrating to go and wash dishes in the next country. So it's a modern slavery thing that they're selling, you know, an idea that they're selling to people to kind of solve their problem. But that is just gonna bring them more problem to their own countries. So, my lord.
Yes, my Lord. Glorify, give thanks for that great explanation, you know, of import, export, migration. I mean, it really puts it into perspective, you know, because really what we see is that the economic hitmen, you know, the IMF, World Bank, you know, the European countries, America, they play games, you know, with the people of the world. They don't feel it because they have enough money to survive it. And, you know, the people who feel it the most, as ones have reiterated, is the poorest people, you know, the ones who don't have anything saved up, who can't afford, you know, to go without. They're already going without, and they can't afford to simplify anymore, you know. And so whenever, like Priest Joseph just explained, you know, whenever the money in these already poor countries gets lower, it's already low. When it gets lower and the import, what they were dependent on becomes higher, and all of these things, it makes it where it's impossible really for the people to live in the country, and they have to flee to the countries that so-called have the money, the same ones that cause the problem. And when they get there, they have a worse economic status. So it's really just a lose-lose situation for the poorer class of people. And yeah, at this time, you know, I'll call on Priest Evans, you know, Honorable Priest Evans, to really speak about the effect of recessions on small businesses, being that he is a small business owner himself. Seek I&I Productions, if anyone's interested, you know, shirt, screen printing and things like that. We also have Priest Dougie is a small business owner, Roots Foundation, and what's the name? Green Medicine, my lord.
I would like to say something on that too.
Okay,
Yes,
Empress, we'll just hold it for the end of the segment, please. Priest Dougie, go through.
Yeah, yes, my lord. Green medicine in the healthcare field.
Green medicine. Yes, I'm a business owner. I'm a painter. I have a painting company. You know, I don't know, plenty of our brothers and sisters are business owners. So this is very relevant information, you know. Priest Evans, my lord, if you can unmute yourself.
Bless the love, my Lord and Empress.
Worthy, blessed.
Give thanks, you know, for such a moment, you know, that I man could even speak on such forum, you know.
Yes, sir.
And well, covering the concern the topic, the effect a recession having a small business. For example, we have a silk screen printing company, and one thing we notice is that the customers, the ordering, it's kind of fell from what it used to be. Like, for example, if you could used to make about 100 sale a week, you might notice that sale now, instead of even 100, it might come down to 10. So that's the kind of effect that you see and it kind of having on the small business. And also at that time now, when you see, like, for example, getting enough customers, you start to look into, like, how can you improve your business? But the first one, and even before the less customer also, the material, you start to have a lot of shortage on material. For example, certain companies would not sell you certain amount of ink because they might have like a bigger company that they usually support with inks, and through your small company, they would put the bigger company before you. So it's something hard to get materials because of that, right? But even during the recession, you try not to let those things hold you back, because I think for us in silk screening, we kind of take time to like try different techniques. How can we improve our business? How can we be? Because you want to be the best at what you do, because the competition is gonna be more steep because it's a recession, right? So we're all fighting for the small customers that's out there. So you try to improve on your skills. You try to watch your cash flow. Instead of back in the days, you would tell a person, for example, someone come for a contract job, they would give you, say, okay, I need 2 dozen t-shirts, and you would say, well, okay, give me a down payment and give me the rest at the end. Instead of saying that now, you tend to tell them pay up front, because it's something hard to even get your funds, So it tends to we show up your funds. What else? Even this time, you try not to spend too much money on equipment, but at the same time, you try to look at the equipment that you have and see, okay, is this the best equipment for the job I'm doing? Is this equipment can make me work much faster? So these are the things to start looking into. And that's about it. Even as Rastafari, really, when dealing with a recession, it doesn't have to really affect us. I think as hard as like the regular world, in a sense where we are supposed to be a community of people. And for example, if someone that sell a certain amount of product, instead of depending upon the general public, what we try to do, we should try to look within our own community first. How can we, do business among ourselves first? So it wouldn't be like a strain. Like, for example, I noticed, for example, right? They have a thing like these what's they called, pop-up shop, right? So for example, Ja Daniel, he have a business. So this week we're gonna say, okay, this week everybody's gonna support Ja Daniel business. So we all focus upon Ja Daniel business. So whether it's 100 of us or 500 of us in that community, and Ja Daniel is selling bread and so forth for $10. So if 500 of us go and support Ja Daniel this week, at least we know he's going to get $5,000 that week. And next week now, we see the same thing for Ja Doggy. And so it wouldn't become like a burden where, one person have to bear it, because it's a strength to strength, So so these are the kind of thing I noticed that in certain region, they would have these pop-up shop to strengthen their community. So these are the things I think that if a Rastafari, we must try to even look into, And that's my few words, my Lord and Majesty,
Oh, give thanks, my Lord.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, it affects your spending, your income as a small business. It may affect your resources, your raw materials. It affects how people are going to shop with you or not shop with you. So there's a big effect on a small business. Some business like Walmart, for instance, a big, huge Fortune 500 company, they're gonna feel an effect, yes, but they're still gonna be able to pay their employees. They're still gonna have everything on the shelf that is available to put on the shelf. Of course, as Priest Joseph had explained, imports and exports definitely take a hit, but for the most part, a lot of the products that they have is not going to be affected. But small businesses, for someone like a Priest Evans, who's a screen printer, you know, there's only a certain amount of resources that he really needs. He needs ink, he needs shirts, and every other business they have, you know, if it's like a niche business, there's only a couple of things that they may need. And if they can't get those things, it makes it really tight. And so their budget, their prices are gonna have to change, you know, and generally the people that they're selling to don't have the extra money to buy, you know, a higher price thing. So it really just it hits hard, you know. And that's, you know, the main point is just to understand that this, even though it may seem like it's big governments that's involved in this, it really, you know, affects our daily life a lot more than we may even perceive when we're in the middle of it. Yeah, I would like to ask Honorable Prophet Jaffrey to give us a little bit of information about how an economic recession affects our mental and emotional health as individuals and as families, etc., as communities.
That's a love, my lord. That's a love, family.
My
Give
Lord.
thanks to be able to share on this program, you know. As we know, everybody is dealing with a recession, whether they want to, you know, accept it or not. It is here. We just coming out of a pandemic. We just saw the economic forum resets, you know, and as we lose our natural resources and we, you know, we replace them with debt, is even going to become a more worse situation. So we know inevitable as we go into any situation which is financial, it affects us mentally as a people, whether it's by anxiety, you know, depression. In some communities, you see, you know, events of suicide, you know, and it's even documented by, you know, as we see, there's a 2019 study done, and it was published in the Association of the Psychological Science, which examined individuals affected by great recessions or financial ailment. It found an increase in depression, anxiety, problematic drug abuse, crime. As you realize, there's an equal between poverty and crime, especially amongst the misguided youth of society who doesn't really have an education of themselves, you know. So poverty will always lead towards crime, and it's a mental situation too, you know, because we have job loss, you know, home foreclosures, and even repossession of certain people's assets, you know. This loss of jobs during the recession, it increased the risk of mood disorder, and they did a data verification of 32%. That's very high, you know. And for us to not pay attention to that and to show love, you know, the study was also done at the University of Alberta that examined the availability of the data in this subject, you know. So today, as we're coming out of COVID, we know that we could see it around us. Everybody is having a financial burden. And a lot of people is dealing with it in a lot of different ways, you know. You might find a rise in domestic violence, you know, you find a rise in crimes, different things. So at the end of the day, we as a people, as a government, you know, as African people, you know, recession has always been with us because we as a government, for the less fortunate and the poor have-nots, you know, we've been dealing with this for a long time. It doesn't mean it doesn't affect us mentally, you know, because we could see the sadness and development, not within I and I as a community alone as Ethiopian Africa Black Congress, International Congress, but internationally. So it's just for us as, you know, we are solutions, as Honorable Priest Dougie said, this is a priestly order. And we are here to not only just recognize the problem within the, you know, our recession, but also to, you know, be a form of solution. And one of the greatest thing is knowing, preparing, and accepting that we are in a recession, which is a mental battle. And once we overcome that is actually 50% of the battle, you know. You know, we have to become more connected to our spirituality, you know. Because we know we have to be confident in our victory, because in His Majesty, you know, a man's relationship with his spirituality is a personal one. And this is time for us to become more personal with our spirituality. After all, that is the light that is shining, you know. So we have to be confident in hard to the battle and sweet to the victory. You know, God always taught us of fasting, sacrifice, not by blood sacrifice, but by survival, you know, doing what's best for us as a community. and what is most applicable for us to survive. You know, we should use this time for creativity, you know, reading, writing, farming, more arts and crafts, you know, especially governmentally, which is a family, and even our extended family as a Congress. You know, be more mentally active as a people. You know, also too, we can try to eat foods of a more alkaline pH level. Keep the meditation less toxic, you know, keep healthy. And as Priest Dougie mentioned before, the recession affects us health-wise. Physically, you know, the more healthy you eat, the goodie. You know, a healthy goodie is a healthy mental. And, you know, a healthy physical could release that financial stress, you know, from the doctor bill and everything else that come with it. Also, too, we have to try, you know, I would say this is the fifth one, you know, as a solution, just my small input. We have to be more mindful amongst each other with the words that we use, you know, communication. We never know what someone is going through because recession affects us in many, many different ways. So we have to be more mindful, you know, the word that the king would use, empathetic, you know, be more, you know, keep a positive mind, positive meditation. As they say, soft words drive away a rat, you know. So it's just the more mental stability because financial will come and go, but our structure and our spirituality is the continent, you know, and we have to keep this going so we could survive it. So it's just my input, Honorable. And, you know, I will just give that for now as we continue within the reasoning. My lord.
Give thanks, Prophet Joffrey. You know, yes, sir. That's real practical, everyday. You know, like that. That information can help us because it's gonna. If you know, when we feel financial distress, it really affects our mood. Our mood can sometimes bleed over into our interactions with others, the way we, you know, think of ourselves. So it's very important to keep in mind our mental and emotional health, you know, when going through a crisis, you know, and as a people, you know, going through a crisis together, it's important, as he mentioned, you know, to know that, yeah, this isn't normal circumstances and my brother, my sister is stressed. You know, life is hard right now. So let me not add more stress to their life, or let me try to help relieve some of the stress because our burdens are supposed to be shared, you know? So yeah, I would like to ask now for Honorable Empress Maisie to give us some information about how an economic recession affects a family. You know, as a mother of 9 children, she can definitely speak on this, you know, growing up and coming up in the camp area in Bobo Hill there. Yes, Empress Maisie.
My Lord, yes, Majesty. Blessed love, you know, it's a long story, but I will tell you now little. My Lord, as an empress with a king still, it was more on the provider. You understand, the king who have to find, you know, the food, who have to find the everyday, you know, living, you see it. And when things are tough, like take for instance, my king man is a craftsman, right? Any leak that the industry get, like the tourist industry, it hand out to the little small craft people who have to, you know, sell to survive. There were many times that my king went out and came back with the craft stuff. And he would sit down and wonder what is going to happen. But as I said, like, you know, man of good thinking, him not just sit down and say, all right, XYZ, meditation, him turn to another a way of life by turning to the field, you know, right? Because if the craft, you know, selling the craft are not profitable, sometime or the business is slow, right? Because you have a time where the Indian them always control the few tourists than that are coming in, all inclusive. So you find out that the little vendors them now, like the Black people, they will suffer, get one or two sale. So it's like you can just sit down and depend on that. He has to turn his hand to the field, you understand, and start to plant the little catch crop, vegetable, the little ground provision. That means say, when one door closes, the next one open, majesty. You understand? And that's how we survive. Because every day is recession from me grow up, povertyness for the poor and the have-nots. See, don't know anything like rich, like the other people them. So we understand how to live, to get around recession. We just buy what we need and don't buy what we want. You understand? And so we get through, but there are other people when they want to put their hand to the ground, to turn over. So they live, by buying things every day. They went to the store, spending this, spending that. And when it is not there for them, they are in bigger problem. Watching us, the little small family going through, and wondering how we go through. You understand? But we are wise people, and our Father teach us how to live, turn our hands and make fashion. So as a mother of 9 children, we get the little thing on the table and we sit down, king and queen, so daddy XYZ, this is that. We can't afford to buy that. We have to buy, this is important. You understand? The kids have to go to school, this is for them, and so on and so on. So we angle our fear from them time until this time.
True,
You
mama.
understand?
True,
So,
mama.
majesty, that's how we get through recession. Because recession always in a Jamaica, whether it is not. Because the price increase, drop on the big penny, right? It's we, the consumer, them fling it out and they're not taking it, right? So the little price increases reach them, then fling it out and we. So we always have to be the one to bear it, right? My daughter is a small vendor, small business person. She have a craft shop around the craft market. And when things now work at the craft market, she have to turn our meditation to make something else. So they say, you don't put your egg in one basket. You try and, work it around. So when one thing now work, the other will work, something will come about. And that's why enough Black people today is surviving. You understand? Because they use up their meds and they try to go around all the little things, them inflation, price increases, everything, that them set and I, you see. And that's how we are today. My family go through, you see, because we put our heads together and we follow the word of the Father. When we went to the camp, the Father said, hey, each family to have a little small basket where they put their little something away. That in Christ, at time of the rainy day, and things get tough, we can always go and rock back on the little things where we put aside. And that's how I manage when times are tough and hard. As a wife, a mother, have to put away a little something aside, so I could rock back and to help my husband out in maintaining the family, You see, Majesty. So that's what we have to do. That's what we mothers have to do. We have to have something snatch away. Can't spend all. You get $5, you spend $3.50. You put on something at the corner. See, for this time and worse at time, my father tell us that it will be worse at time than what is happening now. We don't see inflation yet. And we don't see recession yet. It is coming bigger than what it is now, my Lord. Give thanks.
Oh, give thanks, Mama. Yeah. Who feels it knows it, you know? Babylon give us basket to carry water. And we just, we've been doing it. They give us lemons, we make lemonade. They give us pig intestines, we make chitlins, And somehow we just still keep being creative and coming up with a way to make it, even though, it's never ideal situation, So give thanks for the resilience of the African people in the world, of the poor and have not, in general, because all people, when they need to, we come together and we make it happen, Would like to call on Empress Cindy now to give us, a little rundown about how this affects farmers. And Priest Dougie had mentioned farmers earlier being, the staff of life. People always need to eat, even though it's a recession. How does a recession affect farmers, Honorable Empress Cindy, in the agriculture industry?
Oh, give thanks, my Lord.
Yes, sir.
So, I have a sister and a brethren who and that live in St. Kitts, and they're both Rastafari. And her husband, he owns a farm over there, and I was I had a conversation with them, and I asked her what specifically what were they doing during the pandemic when everything was slowed down and everything, and she was saying how when a lot of the ships weren't, because St. Kitts relies on a lot of imports from the US and other countries, that what they would bring in for the people would be like one bag of rice and like, very minimal food supplies. And they are another family of 9. They have 7 children with a large extended family that stays there. So, they're pretty busy providing, food and nourishment for not only their family, but their extended family as well. And she was stating to me that what she would do and during those times, those crunch times of surviving, would be that she would put away rice. They were preserve food in glass jars, put away, dry items like beans and stuff like that. And at one point it got really, hard, really bad over there, that the farmers were actually living on their farm. So that way other, farmers or other people wouldn't go on people's farms and take from them. So this empress was stating that, she would save seeds, because seeds are, very important, and it's much dependent on to grow food. They had, an abundance amount of ground food, like potatoes. What is the other thing? Gosh, I can't think. You know what ground food is, right, my
Yeah,
Lord?
cassava,
Cassava,
yams.
all these, yeah. So they had an abundance of that. And they basically survived, but it's not easy. So she said that, storing food, saving seeds, and the abundance of fruits they would have, they would cut them up, clean them up, and freeze them to make juices, when they needed to get juices. If they had any seeds of pickles, they would, put in a jar and make stuff with pickles. The government of St. Kitts doesn't really support the local farmers over there, which is a shame. And they have a huge infestation of monkeys that affect local farmers' crops. So, you can be planting so many beautiful different vegetables and fruits, and here comes the monkeys taking them, and that's your livelihood right there. Um, and the government doesn't do much to assist in that regard. However, when they realized that the food supply that would essentially be imported from the U.S., the barges weren't coming in, being that the borders were closed and stuff like that. Then they in turn look towards their own and send kits to, get produce and buy produce from the local farmers and such like that and stuff like that. But yeah, this is one of the ways that people make do on the island of St. Kitts. Give thanks, my lord.
Yes, I give thanks for, that example. I'm sure while she was speaking about St. Kitts and Nevis specifically, I guarantee that same scenario plays out for many other quote unquote small countries, and when I say small, I don't mean area. I mean, economy wise in the world, the ones who are less influential, I guess, less, less money, poorer countries. So to just make it plain, yeah.
I pray thee, just to add to what I was saying, just like in other Caribbean islands as well, the land is very fertile. And so they produce a lot of crops, but the local economy would rather get, crops from the outside and use that instead of just using the local farmers. You understand? And when I was there, when I visited there myself, I would see, local farmers come to the market and sell their produce and stuff like that. And to me, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit spoiled, but I found some of their prices to be kind of expensive, but it's just a way of the world now. Many things are expensive, and to buy food over there is very expensive.
Yes.
I experienced that firsthand. Give thanks, my lord.
Yeah, give thanks, Empress Cindy. Yeah.
True, Empress. True.
Give thanks everyone still. And last on this topic, this aspect of the reason and the effects, the last one I would call on is Prophet Jasik. My Lord, is he still with us? No, he dropped. Okay, so before we seal up with the effects, would like to just, leave it open for a moment. Anyone else on the live stream, a panel, have anything they wanted to add regarding the effects of the recession, economic recession?
Sure. I pray thee. I would like to just add how, I mean, we have already, gone the rundown, all of us, but I wanted to talk about like how it affects moreover to talk about Black communities and how it specifically affects us still. A recession hurts, and it hurts more so the poor and socially marginalized populations. The economic disparities prevail during an economic downturn, and low-income Black communities get further and further left behind. A recession crisis does more long, excuse me, a crisis like a recession can and does affect long-term wealth for people of color. Large-scale unemployment arises and small businesses get affected because of it. Because of this, it makes it difficult for many households to meet monthly debt and housing obligations. People of color are more likely than white people to lose wealth during economic downturns. Historically, the gap in the median income of Black and white households typically grows during economic downturns. However, Black households generally have less liquid wealth, which leaves households of color with fewer financial resources to draw upon when financial hardships or economic disruptions occur. And so this is as ones and ones have stated, it's a reoccurring issue with us, and we just gotta find ways to survive in these times,
Yes,
Thanks for remembering us.
Yes, I. Anything else on the effects of economic recession, family, before we move on to the solutions? If not, we'll continue. Yeah. We don't want to just, we define it. We talk about how it causes, we talk about the problem, but we wouldn't leave without giving some solution information as well. Yes. So to begin with, I would like to call upon, Honorable Prophet Jaffrey. Solutions regarding mental and emotional health, my Lord. Prophet Jaffrey, unmute,
Yes, Honorable.
my Lord.
Yes, as I mentioned, as I said, give thanks again, Honorable, for the clearance. We just need to be, more conscious, to our brothers and our sisters, help in any way that we can, whether it be, by just a word, or it might be financially, if we can, if we can't do that, our spirituality is a great thing for us to, to get closer to right now, as God tell us, we are the Christ, so we have to tap in and just align ourselves with that light and be confident in the victory, because no matter what it is, every day is resurrection, No matter what done gone bad yesterday or what we can't change, we have to accept and just keep rising. Just keep rising. Because in our situation right now as African people, as the Empress already outlined, it brings us further and further back into a situation where we become even less fortunate than we were before. And a lot of times we don't have any alternative financially to get out of it. So this is where we really become our brothers and our sisters keeper, we have to lean on each other, keep a positive meditation, always think about it could have been worse, it could have been a lot worse, but with the Most High in the vessel, we will constantly smile at the storm, So we always have to just keep that positive mental capacity. A lot of times it's hard because the reality of life, and remember, we balance in spirituality and flesh, and we know the flesh is weak. So more time we have to always lead toward that spiritual part to keep it balanced, because it's dread out here right now. Mentally, it's dread, because even amongst I and I, as a people, you can see the alternatives that they choose. A lot of times is not really, premeditated for the best of our well-being. So we always have to be conscious of our mental decisions and, be more unified as a people. As Honorable Jai Evans mentioned, cooperate, create revenues avenues for us to come together and strengthen each other in any different way to alleviate whatever side effect mentally could come out of this, and just continue to be our brothers and sisters keepers, Just keep that light shining. That's all I can say for now, just my input.
Give thanks, Majesty. Yes, and we, one of our brethren, part of the study group, Honorable Bobo Tamiko, he had he wasn't able to join us because he had a prior engagement, but he did send in something that he wanted me to share with the family, regarding this recession. I'll just read what he said. He said, when we think of a recession, we tend to always look at it from the perspective of pessimism or negatively, But if navigated properly, one can come out of a recession in a better position than when it began. Many Fortune 500 companies and big businesses started during recessions and economic downturns. To keep it brief, I will point out a few well-known companies that began during recessions and their net worth as of 2019. General Electric, it launched in 1892. Their revenue in 2019 was $95.2 billion. General Motors launched in 1908. Revenue of 2019 is $137.2 billion. IBM, 1911. Revenue as of 2019, $77.1 billion. Disney, 1929. Their revenue in 2019, $69.6 billion. HP, the computer company, they launched in 1939. This actually is Hewlett Packard. I'm sure they're not just computers. Hewlett Packard launched in 1939. Their revenue as of 2019, 58.8 billion. Hyatt, year launch 1957, revenue 5.0 billion. Trader Joe's 1958, estimated revenue 13.3 billion. FedEx launched 1971, their 2019 revenue 65.5 billion. Microsoft launched 1975, revenue as of 2019 125.8 billion. Honorable mentions include Salesforce, Google, and Facebook. And though technically not started during recessions, these three giants were all launched right before major economic meltdowns. Google in 1998 and Salesforce in 1999, right before the dot-com bubble burst, and Facebook 2004, shortly before the Great Recession. Having weathered these storms, the three companies posted a combined $72.77 billion in revenue in 2019. So, before I move on, I would like to really focus on what type of businesses are these. All of these businesses are pretty much things that are essentials, General Electric, they make like accessory, like I know they make light bulbs, but I know they make a lot of other things that like, products that need electricity to function. But light bulbs in a country like America, maybe not in every country, but in America and say England and places like that, you need light bulbs, General Motors, that's cars. IBM is computers. Disney is entertainment. HP is technology, computers. Hyatt, I think, is hospitality, like hotels. FedEx, that's shipping. Microsoft, another technology company. Salesforce, I'm not sure of. Google and Facebook definitely are, very common internet-based companies. But the point I was just wanting to say is that, all of these companies are things that they're not like, well, there's levels to it. The electricity, the technology, you can do without it, yes. But if you live in a country that's developing and has these things regularly, most places, I mean, it's pretty much it's gonna sell regardless. These are necessities. The Facebook and what was the other one? Disney. It's more like social and entertainment. And people need those things, when you're in a recession and you can't go traveling, you can't do the fun things you want to do. A movie might have to work, or, for a lot of adults, Facebook is a lot how people spend their time, So point is, as a solution, think about businesses, business ideas that are things that people will be using, even though they don't have a lot of money. They probably have time, so, and if it's not something that is inexpensive, it's got to be something that people or businesses absolutely need. Yeah. And, just a positive way to look at a recession is that this could be an opportunity, a business opportunity, because definitely the wicked world, they see every opportunity, any situation where people are needing, they often cause the problems, but they also offer the solution for sale as well. So to think, and not necessarily causing problems, but we have to think of solution, like creating solutions to the problems that even their economic situations may cause on us. Yeah, so I'll seal up that. Call on Priest Joseph again. Priest Joseph, my Lord, if you don't mind giving us some information about how ones and ones can strengthen the local economy, because that was, one thing that Priest Joseph has suggested as a solution to the economic recession problem. How do we strengthen our local economy, my Lord?
True, my Lord. True, and yes, what my Lord, I see. Well, since everything is more expensive, right? Local economy, but when I mean local economy, it gravitate on, you see, what people can produce without having to invest, you see, in things that are expensive. So, like, for instance, something like broom, which is something that is done, you see, from, you get the straw and the stick from the bush. You see, you don't have to invest in something that fluctuates on pricing. So local economy can, attain, you see, more customers, because when everything is becoming more expensive, you see, local industries could get, you see, at a standard price. See, and that can be, relevant to the people that's buying the goods. Now,
Priest Joseph. It sounds like he's having technical issues. If that continues, we'll move forward to the next person, and hopefully his thing will sort out soon, and we'll hear what he has to say, because it's very important. All right, so until we hear again from Priest Joseph, we'd like to call on Priest Evans again, on the small business aspect. I mean, you kind of mentioned some solutions.
I also see that,
okay.
When, amongst,
Priest Joseph?
Pardon my lord. I'm going on the road right now, and the signal is going off.
All right, well, we missed what you said, kind of, but if you can
But
ensure.
yeah, what I wanted to say was for, like, yes, my lord. In regards of our local economy, we can see the vision, of Marcus Garvey, how the man, built, you see, a transportation company, you see, to transport goods and materials, to strengthen those Black communities, you see, that depend on each other's production same way. So, yes, let us look at the prophet and see how he deal with the economic, building of Black people, and there we see a great example we can follow.
Give thanks, my Lord. John Evans, my Lord. Can you solutions for the small business owner?
Going off, my Lord. I will be hearing here.
Okay, God, give thanks for the contribution, same way. John Evans, you still with us, God? If you could unmute.
Bless up, my Lord.
Bless
Can you
you,
repeat the
man.
question, my Lord?
Yes, I just on the top, the aspect of the small business owner, what are some solutions for the small business, whether it be the business owner himself or for the community that has the responsibility of keeping these small businesses alive? What solutions do you have in mind, my Lord?
Well, if there's something called collective economy or something like that, where we just have to depend on each other, especially within the Black community, learn to support each other. Sometimes because of it's the scarcity of getting materials, prices, you might have to raise price in certain things, but you try to, cause everything is not about money, it's about keeping the customers also. So you try to be mindful, how you're raising the price. And at the same time, you want to survive still. So you have to, you know what I'm saying? So the main thing is just collective economy. You work together. You support each other. You control the spending, as the Empress say all around. All around I mentioned like buying new equipment, but also you do not buy equipment because you just want to buy equipment. You would buy equipment because you need equipment to help improve, to make your product the best that you possibly can. So the main thing is to be the best at what you do. And that's it, my lord, because in a recession, a lot of small business goes out of business.
Mhm.
So especially even as far, right? It'd be nice for us to just try support each other, and because at the end of the day, we are our own brother's keeper, 'Cause if we don't support each other, my lord, who else gonna support us? And that's it, my lord,
Yes, Majesty. Give thanks, Priest Evans. Going forward, Empress Maisie. Families now. What's the solution for the family? How does family?
Yeah, my lord.
How does the family make it through the recession, Mama?
Well, how we make it through the recession, we have to work as one, Majesty. You understand? We have to, work as a unit. Because we are a craft vendor, we are coconut. Because the amount of things where my king farm make out of coconut shell, lots of items. So naturally, we are an industry by ourselves, And so when we could teach others to how to make it, you understand? So right now, the children, them doing that work, but, the Majesty, here for each other, and the universal kitchen, as a family. We cook in one pot, you're seeing, and we share and make everyone get something, to eat. And so also that is also helping, one way having a problem, having a recession in them family, we can maintain certain aspect, my lord. And so we are there for our one another. We give thanks to the teaching of the Black Christ, seeing we say, we are our brothers keepers, and we are to dare, for each other, helping out, in whatever possible way we can. See our brothers' need, see our sisters' need, and try to work together. You understand? Because when we work together, every little make a muckle. See it, we have one finger banana, you have one finger planting, and whatever. We put it together. And so we would feed a nation with it if we know how to do it, So as a family, my lad, coming from them time, that's how we did it, by helping, by working together, the family, and church with hands towards other ones that, is not so fortunate are fortunate like us, who have a skill, you know, to live off, see it. And so we could also help them by teaching them how to sew. My husband is a tailor, and then he used to teach ones-on-ones too, how to sew, that in case anything, they can help themselves, And so we take time, and they also take time, because recession, and I like say it will take another 10 years. As soon as your economy is up, you take time come out of that. See it. So we have to just know how to govern ourselves, and work together, my lad. See it, and help one another. This is what the Father talks, the unity amongst yourself. Don't keep what you know for yourself and keep everything for your family alone. Stretch your hands out and help your brothers and sisters in their time of need. Yeah, my lad, that is how we work it still,
Oh, give thanks,
Majesty.
Honorable. Yeah, give thanks for sharing from experience, wisdom is apparent. And, to kind of bring this one down to a close still, Honorable Priest Dougie, I would like it if you could give us, from a Bobo Ashanti perspective, what qualities of our liberty really should be preparing us always for a recession. How why should Bobo Ashanti be immune from recession? What is it about our liberty, my lord?
Yes, my lord. One of the basic lessons that the father taught us, was cooperative economics, pooling our resources. That's why he had set a universal kitchen. The broom field was also a universal broom field. So we pooled our resources to make sure that straw was always in the straw house. And we pooled our resources to make sure that our storehouse always had food in it. Especially when time got rough, one of the ways in which we survived was we had brethren, other Bobo Ashanti, that was outside of the camp, residing in the rural areas that farmed. And as part of the Congress, they know the liberty. So again, cooperation between one another. The father would send his transport, send his truck to check these brethren, on items, not just not to give, we would still spend funds with them to purchase what we could purchase. But being that they are Bobo Ashanti, whatever we purchase, we would get double, triple the amount. So again, cooperating together, knowing that what they are sending in is going to feed the camp, which is a whole lot of people at the time. See? So working together as a people, as a Congress is one way. Managing our resources is very important. See? Having a constant source of revenue. So as a government, as Bobo Ashanti, there's so many different skill sets within the Congress, organizing them, having a directory of who is who, what we do, what businesses are within the Congress, that is one way of identifying, our resources. So we can draw on the different resources when we need it. Different areas that we know are strong, are stronger, within that, recession, because those areas may be providing essential services. So they are stronger than, per se, just the broom or the mat. So as a Congress working together, as a community in general working together, but the basic preparation is to manage your debts, especially ones that living outside of a camp environment. As a Bobo Ashanti, you're living, like I and I who reside in Miami and them in Carolina and different places like that. You have to manage your debt, make sure, say, you deal with your most critical debts. You bring them down when you see the signs of a recession coming. You don't want to be owing those critical areas, and them get out of control. For instance, rent. I find that during a recession, where I reside in Florida, there is a Skid Row not far away. And when I say a Skid Row, an area where homeless people, derelicts, congregate and find little shelter during the night and whatever. And it's mostly people of color. And during the pandemic, I saw more people of color find themselves out there. And since the pandemic. And these are not just the average person now that you would say fall under that category, because them profile I and stereotype I and I. So there's a fit that, there's a type of a category of people that fit that derelict, demographics. These are not the type of people I'm talking about. I'm seeing mothers with children, you understand, homeless. I'm seeing whole families, mother and father and children homeless, since the pandemic and this recession kind of building up steam, So it affects those critical areas, a lot. So when you can manage those areas, making sure that your roof place where you lay your head is secure. You know, you're ahead of the game. You know, create a budget, work from a budget. You know, like Mama Maisie say, put away your emergency funds. Don't spend everything. Don't be a spender. Don't be a consumer. That's what they have created, you know, as this modern world. You know, these are societies of consumers. You know, we consume more than we produce, and then two set of nations now provide all that we consume. And those two set of nations are now the big powers of the world, because logically they are providing everything, so they are making all the money. See? Yeah. We have to find ways of investing, pulling our money together and investing in our community. Now, a good example to look forward, you know, a Sankofa journey that we can look at, you know, is Tulsa, Oklahoma, the African village. Because it was a time of segregation where we had to spend our money in our community. We weren't allowed to spend our money outside of our community. Tulsa thrived so much so that it created envy, and we know the story. But you know, regards to what we're speaking of right now, they thrived buying black. The brethren got into a little part of it earlier, where one, you know, that 3 of us have companies, 5 of us have companies, and this week we identify one and we make sure that we support that one during that downturn to keep it afloat. I see it happen here in Jamaica. I have friends that have bars, and they have a thing called the drink out, whatever drink out them call it. I'm not in that world, so I can't tell you all the specific names, but that is what I hear them calling it. Where this week, drink out is at this person's bar, and every bar owner within that, what you would call a club then, you know, a club of owners, every bar owner come and gather on this person's bar, and them support it for the night or for the weekend, whatever them decide. And that way, that bar within that downturn time is able to stay afloat. The next week is another one, and the next week is another one. It's almost like a partner draw, you know, that what we call partner, where you throw money and each person have a draw, you know, at a set time and period. So if we do things like that, we can, you know, sustain ourselves. We can stay afloat within this, you know, what them call recession. And Jabenton always have a statement that him use. Him say, within chaos, there is opportunity. So within the chaos of recession, there's opportunity for new form of businesses to be developed. You know, you look for what is most needed within that time, you know, and what do you have access to that can, you know, be that little niche area, you know, and you move to it. That opportunity creates, just like what we see in the pandemic. Delivery of food has become now a norm even after the pandemic, because you couldn't go into the restaurant during the lockdown, so they had to deliver. So all of these restaurants developed a delivery system. At the end of the pandemic, they didn't abandon it. So that's a new form of career now for ones and ones. Now they become, you know, deliver of food. I see it down here in Jamaica, same thing. You have all of these bike guys with these things on the back that's delivering food during the days. And I am being told by my family here that this came out of the pandemic, you know, see. So there are opportunity within chaos. See? So I will wrap it up with that, you know, look at what worked back then, because we have been a people living in a constant recession. So we pretty much know how to weather the storm, you know. The problem that we are having that making it look kind of difficult in this time is we lost that solidarity, that understanding of unity. Unity is the main ingredients to cooperative economics, you know, that trickle down effect that brings within our community. And it has to come through unity. So that is one of the things that we have to have during rough times. We have to band together, not pull apart. Don't make things get rough because it get rough. We pull apart and we become more selfish or, personalized, self-centered. That is the time we need to band together. And as Brother Jaffrey said, be our brothers keeper and our sisters keeper. Blessings.
Yes, my Lord. Give thanks, honorable. Yes, I. One thing that I I think I heard hints of it, but that I wanted to highlight though, King Emmanuel, the business is, all right, first of all, the recession. Recession basically just means you spend more than you make. You have more going out than you do coming in. Poor people, that's an everyday reality for the most part. We have more bills than we got money. And we still have to buy food and send children to school. King Emmanuel's government is set up as a recession, like a net to catch us, because he knows that we're suffering from this recession. When we were brought into the Western world, it was just, poverty and hell for us. So the EABIC is supposed to be a salvation from that. And so the businesses that he established, the broom industry requires no money, really, not a lot of money, maybe some money for like the metal band for the broom. But other than that, everything is a natural resource and it's free. It just takes your time and energy to go and get it and your skill to know how to put it together and a very little bit of financial investment. So things like that, things like a chalice, it doesn't cost much to make a chalice. It just really takes skill and time. And, if you can find a coconut and a piece of bamboo, if not bamboo, then a rubber hose or something, but, people still burn herb during a recession. That's something that people are still going to use. And there's so many other little things like that that don't require much financial investment that are easy start, not necessarily easy startups, but don't require a lot of money to start up. And that's, things like that. If we can find them, that can be helpful. Also, think about something like masks, before the pandemic. People were using masks, in certain industries, but everybody wasn't buying masks. All of a sudden now, there's this huge demand of masks. And like, Priest Dougie said with the food delivery, it didn't exist before as prominently, but now it's like every business has some way to get your food to you, regardless if you can come pick it up or not. So to be creative is a great thing, and to collectively be creative, to collectively be supportive, to strengthen each other mentally and emotionally, to help each other when we're down, because the financial things, it causes stress, all of us feel it from time to time, and we have to be there for each other when we're going through those times. Service, our Nyabingi service, Sabbath service is probably going to be a lot sweeter, because you really need God a lot more, not to say more, but when you're going through things like that, you really need that comfort, so service is going to be a much more, I would say that could be a time where you, as Prophet Jaffrey mentioned, go more into your spirituality, because you're going to need that strength to get through this tough time. So I'm just recapping, I'm not saying anything really new, but just kind of putting it all there for everyone to digest and consider everything that was said. This was a great reasoning. I give thanks for everyone's contribution and participation and all the information that was put on the table. At this time, I would like to open it up and ask if there's any other things that were ones thought should have been mentioned that were not mentioned, or anything like that, before we go into a brief question and answer period. My Lord and Empress, those on the panel right now, I'm asking, is there any other comment, questions, or concerns that we need to cover before we close?
Well, I mean, did anybody mention stockpiling food and
Yes,
stuff
Empress
like that,
Maisie
and growing your own food.
Empress Maisie mentioned storing food,
Yes.
dry food, but I don't know if anyone mentioned the backyard farming. I think I
I
kind of
did.
hints
I
of it.
did
Okay, yeah.
too. I
Yes, sir.
mentioned that too.
All right. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, well, another suggestion would be a community garden, preserving your food, investing in a food storage system, buying food in bulk, investing in a food dehydrator, which removes the water from your food, and it has a shelf life up to 10 years, growing your own food and stockpiling your own food.
Yes, give thanks. That
Yeah.
one thing that she said there, buying in bulk, you know, that's something collectively we can do to help ease. When you buy things in bulk, you get a better price. So if 10 of us get together to buy 50 pounds of something, we'll get a better price than we would in the grocery store. And that's a good way, you know, to save money on food. Give thanks, Empress Cindy. And Empress Maisie, yeah, for those solution-based answers. Priest Dougie, did you have something, my lord, you wanted to say?
Well, no, everything kind of said, you know, they're defining what cooperative economics is in all forms, whether it is in the investment or is it in the providing for the community, you know, like you said, buying in bulk, you know, making it cheaper. One other thing that helps a Congress like ours, you know, because, you know, we have to speak about ourselves, is maintaining that tights program that we have, you know, especially in good times, because by having that tights, you know, during good times, we are putting in what we're putting, and there's some being put aside for that emergency fund, you know, so it will offset crises when they arise, you know, like the elder care situations and things like that. So preparation is key to, you know, weathering any storm, and as the poor and the have not, that has been our method. And if you're a Garvey student, Garvey rivets that into your brain. You know, he constantly tell you, if you make $10, don't spend the 10, put 2 aside. If it's even 2, because that rainy day will come. It's not every day the sun going to shine. So yes, my lord, give thanks.
In regards to what you just said, Priest Dougie, may I say a comment? I would like to read a quote from the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey.
Go ahead, Empress. Judge Anil,
Yes, I.
your call.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of self-reliance and liberation of the global African community, in the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, he states, and I quote, "Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people. Action, self-reliance, the vision of self and the future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of freedom. Self-reliant government, collective self-reliance will bolster the extent to which an oppressed group or country is able to withstand the pressure or punishment of its enemies." Give thanks.
Yes, I give thanks.
Love that,
Always
Empress. Empress, that
perfect. Yes,
fits
I.
perfectly. Yeah, man, that fits perfectly. A good cap-in. Thank you.
Summarizing it. Yes, I. With Marcus Garvey words is perfect. Give thanks, Empress Cindy. That was crucial, you know? Someone in the comments in the YouTube video, Johnny Johnson, said, you know, great reasoning, each one teach one. If 12 families buy 1 acre of land together, we can move forward. Susu, partner. You know, those are all, you know, suggestions towards how to enlighten, you know, to make it easier for poorer people to come together, to make it easier on themselves by working together, buying land together. As the Empress said, community farming, backyard gardening. You know, if you live in a city, even though you may not be able to plant stuff outside, you definitely, if you have a window or if you have a light, you can, if you don't have a light, you can buy a grow light. They're not that expensive nowadays, but you can grow sprouts indoors. and that's something you can do a lot of, in a small space. And they're really high in nutrition, things that are high in nutrition should be our focus in a situation of a crisis, if possible, not like bulky stuff that doesn't give you much nutrition really, but if possible, things like sprouts. And as far as like, peas and things like that, get the ones that have the most nutrition that you can afford. But yeah, if you live in a space like where you have a yard, if everybody in the community plants something different, then you have a full array of produce, and that's ways that we can make it easier on ourselves. It's open for questions and comments before we seal up the program. We won't stay too long, but just want to give ones an opportunity to chime in. Those watching on YouTube, if you have any comments you wanted to send in, I can read them. If you have questions, we can get them answered. And give thanks for everyone's presence in the YouTube chat room, and those listening. If you're working and listening, this is all helpful information, and we're just trying to help ourselves and help each other at the same time. All right, well, we won't stay too long then. Give thanks to everyone. Oh, Rothschild in the YouTube, he said, know how to bring the goodie together. Now, I don't know if he means, the collective goodie, the family, or if he just means how to maintain your own health. But my question is, how do you do it so he can do it? He wants to know how to bring, when you say goodie, beloved, what do you mean? Do you mean the family, like the Bobo family, the Rasta family, Black people, your own personal goodie? What do you mean? One moment. Collective. How to bring the collective together. Anyone want to touch that? Anyone want to give him some guidance on that question? How do you bring the people together to do these things, to make it easier on each other?
Identifying commonality. That's how a community exists, common unity. That's what makes up a community. So identifying the commonality, showing how when you collectively function, how beneficial it is for the individual. That's the great thing about the collective function, it benefits the individual. See, so when you are able to translate that properly to a group of people, then they will see the benefit in that function, So that is one way of bringing the family together,
Yes, I also I would like to add that generally in times of need, people that you don't hear from, when they need something, you might start hearing from them. So naturally, crisis, I think, brings people together even when they don't like each other and don't want to be together. Sometimes we'll come together anyway because we have an actual need, and the need supersedes the ego. And, reality for Black people, our need for freedom, redemption, and repatriation should supersede our ego every time, because nothing that we have against our brother is more serious than the situation that we face as a people globally. So yes, for a recession, but just in general, as I said before, we always in a recession, as African people, as a people. Maybe some of us are not. Some of us make more money than we spend, but the majority of us vastly, are in a recession, in a poverty state. So we should always be trying to come together to do, but only for good, when we come together and we don't have a constructive purpose, we do folly, generally we come together and do folly. So come together for a good cause or stay alone. Anyone else? Questions?
Majesty call it collective security,
Yes.
Anytime we as a people get to understand the essence of what collective security is and how much security it does provide, well, we're going to wonder why we haven't done it long ago. Bless.
Honorable Prophet Mpo, my Lord, blessed love. We miss you here in the study group and the music class. Good to hear from you. He held everyone up in the YouTube. Duran Lewis, he said, "Blessed love family. I am here in Florida. I'm a farmer and a remodel carpenter. Give thanks for the reasoning. Ja Daniel, I love to know how to get in contact with you." Well, Honorable, my email address that once could reach me is jadaniel.r7design@gmail.com. That's JAHDANIEL period, the letter R, the number 7, DESIGN@gmail.com. Give thanks, Dujon. I don't know if I said the name right. Dujon, DUJON Lewis. Give thanks for tuning in, my Lord. So yes, family, without further ado. Oh yes, Honorable.
My Lord.
Yes, I.
Yes. What I would say still, anyone who never consider to start to put something aside for the rainy day, even on the recession and things start now. If you never start before, start now. You're not going to regret it. You're going to be happy that you do so. Let us put something aside, my Lord, in your corner. That's what the Father said.
Yes, I.
Have something in your corner that in case any day come, we can push out our head or we can survive for a couple of months, my Lord. So start doing that now. Give thanks for your program. Give thanks to each and every one, my Lord. It was very informative. I enjoy it. And blessed love.
Give thanks, Mama. Yes, we know it's going to rain, it's just a matter of when. So it's better to be prepared than not, right?
I pray another solution would probably be similar to what Priest Dougie alluded to when he said collective security, which would be to live off grid, not dealing with Babylon or nothing like that. Just having a huge plot of land where ones and ones can make their own houses or what have you, and live off the land that way. You understand, and find natural ways to live again. You understand?
Yes, I.
Yeah.
Well, at this time, we'd like to seal up. We'll ask if Honorable Empress Miriam feels to sing us another wonderful chorus to close the program. We'll give her the opportunity. And if not, Mama, we'll just go forward with the prayer and close it up. No pressure.
Yes, Honorable. Joshua, I sing that this man. 2 little sisters walking one day down by the bright riverside. And we were singing and shouting and praising for I. The Lord will provide. 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 I said 2 little sisters walking one day down by the bright riverside, and we were singing and shouting, praising for I. The Lord will provide. Yes, the Lord will provide for I. The Lord will provide. The Lord will provide for I. The Lord will provide now. Holy Mount Zion, 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 Lord, holy Mount Zion, Zion. Yes, I, 2 little sisters, walking one day down by that bright riverside. And we were singing and shouting and praising Rastafari. The Lord God of hosts will provide. Oh, let us give thanks to each other. Give thanks to this program today. Most High Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, sanctify and bless my Lord and Empress.
Give thanks.
Blessed Lord.
Give thanks, Mama.
My
That was
Lord and
beautiful.
Empress.
Give thanks, Anna.
Give thanks.
Yes, Majesty. Give thanks for the reminder. Yeah, the Lord, Jah Rastafari, will provide. He helps those who help themselves, you know.
Yes, I.
Let us do good, you know, working together, praying and fasting, planting and chanting, you know, to bring down the wicked world at this hour. Yes, I. Honorable priest, my Lord, if you don't mind, bless us with a prayer as we seal up and go on about our way.
My brother and my sister, behold, what manner of love our Father, King Emmanuel, hath bestowed upon I and I, that I and I could be called priests, prophets, empress, princess, kings, queens, off of his order, the Melchizedek order, Most High, Holy Emmanuel, I, Slash.
Yeah.
And we lie.
Rastafari.
Guide each and every one as, you know, I and I travel through the next 6 days until we gather once again, you know, in Holy Communion, you know, with thou in the midst. You know, this we ask through thy mercy and thy love, you know, Most High. Holy Emmanuel, I
Rastafari.
guide and protect. My
Yes,
Lord,
we are.
My
Lord,
Lord.
give thanks.
Blessed
And
love.
Empress.
My
Give thanks,
Lord.
my Lord and Empress.
Thanks, Sister Cindy. Oh.
Thank you, Mama Mazio.
thanks to the item. Thanks
That's a
to all
love,
the
my
item.
Lord.
Job
My
well done.
lad.
Job well done.
Give
Job well
thanks,
done.
man.
Daniel.
Yes, royal family.
Ja,
Give thanks
Daniel.
again. Yes, I. Mama Maisie.
Every one of my brethren, them, man. Vital input. Give thanks, Honorable. God
Yes,
continue to
Lord,
bless
Mama.
the item and guide the item through the next 6 days work ahead, eh?
Yes, I.
Yes, sir.
And reason continue on the study group.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mama.
Yes, Mama, give thanks.
Lord.
Yes, I.
Yes,
You know, so give thanks again, my Lord and Empress, priest, prophet, and Empress. Give thanks for all information presented. Give thanks for the diligence done to study, showed ourselves approved. And give thanks to Bobo Ashanti Study Group is back again, you know, bringing information to help us, you know, to find our way through this world that we were born into, you know. Give thanks for the Black Christ, you know, and his teaching and his foundation that he set for us as an escape from the wicked world, you know. Give thanks for his salvation and give thanks for his love and his mercy, which endureth forever. Most High, Selassie, Jah.
Rastafari.
This is the African Liberation Network. I'm the host, Honorable Prophet Daniel, and we are the Bobo Ashanti International Study Group. Give thanks again for your rapt attention and your presence and your listening ear, my Lord and Empress, internationally. Blessed love.